Welcome to Real Life and Real Estate. I'm Nikki Robbs, a local real estate agent in the Tacoma and Puyallup area. And today, but you didn't expect this one, it's actually going to be a real life episode. This is just going to be about the real life topics that I'm encountering. I know friends are encountering. I'm also hearing other podcasts be so encouraging and reminding us about things that tend to happen in the fall. One, I love Jon Acuff's podcast. So if you have never read any Jon Acuff nonfiction books, they're amazing. They can have the power to change your life if you want to. And it doesn't really matter which stage of life or which challenge you're going through. Jon Acuff has a book for just about everything. Personally, I would suggest that you start with the book Soundtracks because it is all about mindset and is completely awesome. His podcast is called All It Takes Is a Goal. And recently I listened to his episode on election stress. So yeah, I'm being inspired by that. So shout out to Jon Acuff. But also there's tons of seasonal stress that's going on right now. It is October 23rd on the day that I'm recording this. It'll probably be out sometime in October, early November. But the point is that as our season shifts into less sun and more rain, less sun and more dark, then there is a lot of things that go along with that shift. One is the need or the perceived need to hibernate. We just naturally draw in more when there's less light outside. We naturally just stick around the house more when there's less light outside. It was 6 o'clock last night. I had 6 o'clock, something like that. I'd eaten dinner and I'd had a long day and I was ready to just do nothing. Now, if you had told me in July that 6 o'clock meant do nothing, then no, of course not. Because in July, I have 2 more hours of light, maybe even 3. And so that's still time to do something. But because it's dark, I am no longer motivated. I don't want to do anything. I just want to knit. I want to be cozy. So let's talk about some things that can help with seasonal stress. And these are definitely tools that I have used, and you probably have more. So I would love to hear your tips for seasonal stress. Leave them in the comments or on the social media because we can all share more. For seasonal stress that comes with the decrease in light, and I know our light is about to change again, daylight savings time shift is coming soon. So one thing is get more light. And I know that can be hard. I have had the privilege of having a life and a lifestyle where I can go outside at any time of day. I know that's not available to everybody. I love that I get to do that. But get more light, go outside, find natural ways to have little excuses to go outside. Like even just getting the mail during the light of day. Maybe there's some little errands you can do at work that take you outside so that you have to leave the office. That helps a lot. But when you can't and you're at home, turn more lights on, add more candles, just make your house as bright as it possibly can be. Maybe that's add a lamp into a dark corner. Maybe that's change the light bulb so that it is literally more light than it used to be. That can help a lot. And then if you're thinking, wow, my house really is kind of dark, or I wake up in the dark, I leave for work in the dark, I come home in the dark, you may want to consider getting a happy light. They're available just about everywhere where lights are sold, but it is just a light panel that emits a similar UV ray to what the sunlight produces. And so it can help your body be more awake when it's supposed to be awake because you're triggering your circadian rhythm. So get more light. Number 2 is get exercise. Go outside. And any exercise will do. There's no need to do 75 hard if you are just walking the dog and getting the mail. Just walk the dog every day. Walk yourself every day. You deserve just as much exercise as any pet does. And so take yourself outside. And I find that being outside helps even when it's dark. So, you work at the dark. You left for work at the dark, you come home in the dark, still taking a walk outside is still good for your mind, it's good for your body, it's good for your heart, and it can trigger a lot of gratitude when you take the time to notice little things. That's part of the reason for going outside. Take notice of the little things. Notice your neighbors' yards. Notice things that have changed because you couldn't see them during the light of day, but you can in the evenings. How the rain shines on the pavement, or how that light is out a couple of streets away. I would really suggest, this helps me a lot, is just increase my practice of gratitude. Be very, very intentional about finding several things a day to be grateful for. And that can be, I didn't step on the slug this time. When I'm running, sometimes you can't tell if it's a slug or a stick. And so I play a game with myself. I have to keep on running and guessing, is that a slug or a stick? And you don't want to step on the slugs, but you can step on sticks. So that's a silly little thing. And then my fourth tip is get a list. Make an actual list of very cozy and very happy things to do during these darker seasons of the year. So some of that is special seasonal foods. For me, and I think for a lot of moms, we shift into soup season. And my family can get burned out on foods because I will often go through, oh, it's soup season. We're going to have soup every day of the week. And then all of a sudden we've had all the soups and now no one wants to eat soup anymore. So I'm a little bit more careful now. And I have scheduled out one soup for each week. And we have about 8 favorite soups. So that means, oh, look at that. We go 2 months without repeating a soup. More likely, I'm not going to burn out my kids on a soup like that. What if it's baking season? I'm getting just about ready to consider the first apple pie of the year. I made cinnamon rolls last month. Those are my top 2 favorite things to bake. And definitely, I only bake them in the fall. I just don't make apple pies in the spring. That sounds crazy to me. Make peach pies no, peach pies are in the summer. What pies are in the spring? Leftovers, right? Custard pies, I guess. Make a list. I actually made a list and keep it in my phone because sometimes when I get down so hard and so far and it feels like it came out of nowhere. So I keep a list in my phone of things that are good to do when I'm sad, things that are good to do when I'm stressed, things that are good to do when I'm overwhelmed. And that way, when I encounter that emotion or that pit, whatever I fell into that day, I can look for those tools. They're easy to find. I don't have to think about them because usually when I'm sad or overwhelmed or stressed, my mind cannot go to the places that it needs to go to find the tools. So I make a list of the tools. Here's some of my happy things that help me a lot. Special foods, seasonal foods. I've got several seasonal books and seasonal movies. So we like to watch Hoosiers and Rudy and Remember the Titans in the fall. There's some others, but you get the idea. We love a great football movie and a great comeback story in the fall. It's really fantastic. I've got a few seasonal books that are just to be read at Christmas. I don't read them any other time of year. Maybe they're Christmas themed or they just have a really great story of redemption, of hope. And so I love that. This may sound funny if you are a book nerd and you know what I'm talking about, but the Jan Karen Mitford series I discovered in my 20s because my grandma sent me a book. And it was just such cozy reading. And it was so good for my heart at the time. You can't be mad about anybody. Every single character has a great backstory and has some sort of hope arc in it. And it's just, I love it. They're a cozy read. I don't need to read them all the time, but during the fall, I might pull one out. Shepherd's Abiding is the Christmas themed story. It's just all around the Christmas season. And I love what she does in that book because it's also, she captures the Christmas stress very, very well and has the characters walk through Christmas stress, the stress of buying, the stress of giving, the stress of having things not go perfectly. So there you go. Jan Karen, Shepherd's Abiding. Now, what about election stress? And yes, this is where I was very inspired by John Acuff. Election stress, some of his tips were to plan ahead and start planning and putting happy things on the calendar, things like dinner with friends, a puzzle you want to do, just adding goodness to your life and putting it on your calendar so that there's more things on your calendar than just this looming election. Hopefully, this is one of the least interesting elections in the last couple of cycles. I'm hoping for that. Don't read too much into that. I'm just tired and I want it to be over. Oh, here's another one that John Acuff suggested was get busier working on your dreams. And my personal spin on that is start your 2025 resolution now. Well, that sounds a little crazy because we just said we have seasonal stress and we've got a lot going on. Why would we start on 2025 resolutions now? Because some of them are based on things you're experiencing right now. That January desire to go to the gym is based on how you're feeling right now. The I'm going to run a marathon next year is probably based on something that happened right now. Like maybe you just watched the Chicago Marathon or the upcoming New York Marathon and you're thinking, I could do that. I'm pretty darn close. Well, why not just start looking at training plans or starting something now? Okay. Yeah, I mentioned marathon running and you're probably thinking, geez, Nikki, I don't even do anything but walk the dog. Okay, but maybe your 2025 resolution is to buy a house or to relocate. We can start talking now. That's the easiest part. We don't have to wait for January to start talking. What if your resolution is to launch a business next year? Great, let's start planning a little bit of that. Maybe just the brainstorming part or talking to friends or talking to trusted advisors. Do that now. You're going to be around them for the holidays here and there at different things anyway. So why not just bring it up and say, hey, I have something I would love to run by you. Would you think about this with me? So start little bite-sized chunks of your 2025 resolutions. One benefit of doing it now is that by the time January hits, you already know whether or not you actually want to do it. Because like running a marathon, if you don't run in December, you're probably going to figure out that you don't want to run a marathon. What about starting a business? If you go through a few of the beginning stages between here and January, and you get to January and realize, actually, I don't love this. That's great. Then there's no pressure in January for you to actually start and hit the ground running and make a huge change. You don't have to, because you already did the work of weeding things out. But no, that's actually not a good plan for me. So think about that. And then the biggest one is get into community. Make a community if you have to. Find a gaming group or start a gaming group. Start a group of friends that meets at a local place on a Wednesday night and you talk about movies. Or start something that meets at your house maybe and you play a board game that you've really wanted to play for a long time. There is a community for everybody. I am convinced of that. My kids have found their own community this last year. They needed a little bit of prompting to get into it, but when they did, hook, line, and sinker, it has been a very beneficial community for them. Just got to look and then take a risk. Try it. Fall is probably the best time because then you're getting outside, you left your house, you're meeting new people, and you're adding new people to your life. So what about books? You know I'm going to talk about it. Here's some books that I found were extremely helpful when encountering seasonal shifts. One is nonfiction, and it's geared for business owners, but it's called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. I've been loving it, and I only listen to one chapter at a time. I listen to it when I drive, but I only listen to one chapter because it is incredibly practical. Yes, it's about business, about deciding which things to outsource, which things to train up other people to do. It's really practical. But I think it does apply in parenting and just family management of maybe prioritizing some of the tasks and saying, no, actually, this is not the right task for me to do. Got to figure out someone else in the family who can do this task. So if you're business minded, you might like that book. If not, you may not. Maybe it's not the right fit for you. But I did really enjoy this nonfiction book, The Power of When, Dr. Michael Breus. It's spelled B-R-E-U-S, so it looks like Breus, but he pronounces it Bruce. I read this a few years ago, and it is about the sleep cycle and your particular chronotype. This book was incredible because it helped me recognize, first of all, my teenagers aren't lazy. They just have a different sleep cycle at this stage in their development. So yay for that. I stopped making them do schoolwork at 9 a.m. because we were homeschooling at the time. We could adjust that. So why not? We should absolutely be adjusting their schoolwork to be done at their best time of day instead of their worst time of day because we had the flexibility to do that. But what about exercise? I found out a lot about myself that because my chronotype likes to exercise in the morning, then me making myself exercise in the middle of the day, I was not getting the kind of results that I could in the morning. Plus, that explained my bias toward morning. And it also explained that my husband loves working out much later, not first thing in the morning. So it helped me adjust a lot of things, including I adjusted our dinner times, not so much so we could eat together, but so we could actually eat later, closer to our bedtimes, our natural wind down times, and help everybody get enough nutrition that they're getting enough nutrition throughout the day, but also enough to go to bed satisfied. I think that was huge for me. So those are 2 nonfiction books that I'm really enjoying that is about time and making shifts in your priorities and about the structure of your world. So The Power of When, Dr. Michael Bruce, and then Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, and any book by John Acuff. Seriously. Then seasonal fiction. Yeah, I told you about Jan Karen already. My favorite thing to do right now is go to the thrift store and try and buy the hardbound copy of the paperbacks that I have. So maybe it's also time to pick up a little new seasonal hobby. I know we have a lot going on, but a little thing like visiting the thrift store and looking for books, that can fit into just about anything here and there. It doesn't have to be a big deal. I would love to throw out some other ideas that I've heard. Maybe start a new language on Duolingo, or start a new push-up challenge, or start how many miles in a month can you walk? We did that during the pandemic of 30 miles in 30 days. We live in a location where we have a 1 mile straightaway right outside of our house. So I'd get the kids to walk all the way to the top and all the way back. That meant we did 2 miles that day. And if the dog can do 2 miles, you can do 2 miles. We have a little dog. He's got legs about this big. So if he can do it, we can do it. And it was really good for us to have that goal. If we're going to do 30 miles in a month. Okay, now based on that, we could do more. I know we could, but let's also give ourselves a break of not demanding every single day we have to go exactly that far. The dog is allowed to have off days. He's allowed to do only half mile at a time. That's going to be okay. I'm going to be okay with that too. So I hope you enjoyed a slightly different episode today of really just talking about life. It's October. I want the best for you. I want the best for my kids and for my family. And I really want everyone to have as many tools as they can possibly have to deal with this time of year. We live in the Pacific Northwest. It's not a surprise that it's dark and wet. It just means that we sometimes need new tools, or old tools don't work quite as well as they used to. So thank you for listening for Real Life and Real Estate. I would love to hear your suggestions, because maybe you have a tool that would work for me too. So please leave them in the comments or on social media, and I will incorporate them into a future episode, give you a shout out, and maybe your trick will help save somebody from very agonizing month or season. So thank you again. And if you're looking to buy or sell in the new year, I would love to talk to you soon. And that's not just a business ploy. It is simply about the sooner we can talk, the sooner we can start looking at what has to happen between now and your goal date. And if your goal is to sell in May or June, there's a lot that does have to happen now. So let's talk. You can reach me through all my contact methods there in the show notes, and my website is www.nickierobbshomes.com. And if you can spell that the first time, then I should probably send you a sticker, because it's NICKIEROBBS. And this is Real Life and Real Estate. Have a good day, everybody. Let's get you home.